Good morning. Are you guys excited? I am so excited because I'm going to help you pay for all this stuff that we've talked about today. And hopefully maybe even some of the partners my colleagues who've spoken before me, perhaps we can help fund and add additional services through what they're already providing you. My name is Dan Kolinski. I am the Deputy Director for the Regional Economic Development Council in Central New York and at Empire State Development. Just quickly, before I jump into workforce development, I want to just talk about Empire State Development is the regional economic development arm of New York State. I'm sure many of you have worked with us before. But for those of you who haven't, we are currently in our funding stage, which means that we have money available to help you expand your business, hire individuals. So if you're working on a project right now that's meant to improve your business, come talk to me because we are currently in that round. That application is going to close at the end of July. And so there's two types of money available: ESD grants, which are specific to capital costs for improving your business, buying machinery, perhaps building out an expansion to your business, buying a new building to expand. And then we have ESD tax credits, Excelsior tax credits, which are specific to hiring. So if you're in a manufacturing firm and you're going to hire 5 or more people, there could be money available for that as well. But I am here today to talk about the brand new Workforce Development Initiative. This, as Dave had mentioned earlier, is a $175 million funding source that was just launched on May 1st. This was announced in the governor's 2018 State of the State address. Along with that, he has created a new office, Executive Office of Workforce Development, the point being to coordinate and improve transparency of workforce development efforts across the state. And we have a new workforce development director who will help coordinate all of the regional efforts with this funding source. The important thing about this funding source is, unlike the CFA application that's open right now, the ESD grant money, there is no deadline for this money. Basically, it's going to happen on a rolling basis until the money is spent. So if you're still kind of working out what your program might look like, trying to figure out what your performance-based targets might be, perhaps you are literally just in the first process of being like, oh, I might be able to come up with something that could fit this program. There is not a deadline, so you can come to us and work with us throughout the summer, into the fall, basically until the money runs out. And we're hoping that if it's as successful as we think it's going to be, the state will re-up the money next year so that it's just kind of a continuing program that's available for everybody. Unlike the traditional CFA, you will still use that one portal, the CFA application, to access the funding, but instead of it being one application, it's actually a two-phased application. And so what will happen is, actually, let me just finish this slide real quick. The first will be an initial evaluation by the REDC, the Regional Economic Development Council Workforce Development Committee, this newly formed committee. I'll go into more detail about that a little bit later and who serves on that. And then they will make a recommendation to the co-chairs of the Regional Economic Development Council. Randy Wolkin, who's actually the president and CEO of MACNY, is one of our co-chairs, and Deborah Stanley, who's the president of SUNY Oswego, is our other co-chair. They will then make that recommendation of yes or no, and you'll then receive the second phase of the application, kind of a more detailed look into what your project is. Priority will focus on projects that support the regional workforce development strategy, serve populations with barriers to career advancement, and or improve the flexibility of workforce systems to address industry needs. So the consolidated funding application, and I can make this link available to anybody, it is that one source portal for all of the state funding that is available currently. There are multiple funding sources available through multiple agencies. If you were to go on right now, you'd have access to money from ESD. I don't believe Department of Labor actually has money available this year because you're through this year, but DEC, NYSERDA, EFC, there's multiple agencies that have money available. You will also have access to this through the CFA application. This was developed back in 2011 to kind of streamline the approach for how you would access state money. Before this, if you wanted money from ESD, you would come to us, you'd fill out an application for ESD, which 75% of it would include your business name, your address, who's your point of contact. But then if you also wanted money from DOL, you would go fill out an application that essentially had 3/4 of the exact same information from that. So that was kind of a redundant way of applying for state funding. So this allows you kind of one point of entry for all the funding sources across the state. So phase one, applicants are going to submit a general CFA application. This information will include workforce problems faced by the region and how this project will address it, local and regional partners that are going to be involved in the project, estimated project costs, including the funds that you'll be leveraging to help with the project, and then your performance-based targets. So we're going to kind of rely on you to tell us, okay, how are we going to measure the success of this program? Proposals are going to be reviewed, again, as I said, by that newly established Workforce Development Committee. And then the Workforce Development Committee will make those recommendations to the co-chairs. Once phase one is concluded, the co-chairs will make that final recommendation to the Office of Workforce Development. So these new committees that I was talking about, what are they made up of? And we have, I believe, 7 people for the Central New York region. They're going to be committed made up of people from the economic development world, from higher education, from local workforce investment boards, boards of cooperative educational services, and then the Empire State Poverty Reduction Initiative. Once you've been approved, phase 2 of the application will be made available to you. The Office of Workforce Development will review that initial application and decide which funding source your project is most appropriate for. There are 3 different pots of money that fall into that $175 million. You don't need to figure that out when you first apply, which one is correct for your project. The Office of Workforce Development will do that for you. And then from there, they will send you a link to the phase 2 application that is specific to the funding source that you'll be applying for. They will then convene the Interagency Committee, and this is a committee made up of individuals from multiple agencies across the state who have expertises in a lot of these different areas, and from there they will make a final recommendation on your application. Just to note, because a lot of our companies, perhaps they have offices in multiple regions throughout the state, or perhaps you actually have an idea for a program that could apply statewide. The idea really is that maybe we find solutions that are replicable at scale across the state or across the region. If you were to apply for, say, Central New York and the Southern Tier, that phase 1 application, instead of coming to the regional council, would go directly to the Office of Workforce Development, and that interagency committee will make a recommendation for you on any application that involves multiple regions. The website, for all that you're looking, and I see a lot of people taking notes, I will make this available to anyone who wants it. I will send an email with it included, so if you'd like a copy of it, see me afterwards, and I will also give it to the folks at CEDA so that they have a copy of it as well. But the website is www.ny.gov/workforcedevelopment. Keys to your application. Successful applicants will have a clearly articulated proposal that addresses a workforce problem faced by the region, and then a comprehensive implementation strategy. So I'm sure a lot of people can come up with a lot of great ideas, but we also need to see how is it going to work, how many people are going to be involved, what are you going to use to judge whether it's successful. They really want to see that this whole thing is thought out from beginning to end. In addition, applications may be evaluated based on the following criteria. The role of the local and regional partners. We'd love to see collaboration amongst people within the region, the county, the city. What are the project costs, and to what extent are you leveraging funds that are either already available or that you're able to invest as you are from your own business or whatever it may be. Performance targets that are measurable and achievable. As I said, they want to see what exactly are going to be the goals of this program and how are we going to know if it's successful. And also that's important because if it works in Cayuga County, there's a very good chance it might work in Onondaga County or it might work in Cortland County. So if we can see that there's measurable goals and that it's working, perhaps we can take that and we can replicate it elsewhere. And then transferable nature of the training or accreditation, and a description of any public-private partnerships and how they will expand workplace learning. So the funding options. There's 3 available funding options, as I said. The first is the public-private partnerships to advance 21st century skills, specifically for our SUNY and CUNY schools. This is a mix of capital and operational funding to expand the infrastructure and capacity of SUNY and CUNY to produce skilled talent that meets the needs of regional employers. For SUNY and CUNY programs to provide funding for is SUNY CUNY 2020. This is for capital costs, including building of a classroom, training lab space, technology upgrades or equipment purchases, job linkage, industry-engaged curriculum development, data analysis, or experiential learning in regionally significant and growing industries. Workforce development, business/industry partner training workshops, and the apprenticeship program, development and operation of registered apprenticeship programs in growing or in-demand industries. The one that might be more applicable to a lot of the people out here, the employer-driven skills. Funding will expand employer investment in a skilled workforce pipeline. So the ESD Employee Training Incentive, which was previously included in the Regional Economic Development Council CFA process, now will be funneled through this Workforce Development Initiative. This is an incentive for employers to invest in incumbent worker training. So you as a business who is looking to perhaps get some of your employees' skills to move up, could apply for funding. And I was saying, as you were mentioning about MACNY, we also could help perhaps fund that. The New York State Department of Labor Unemployed or Underemployed Worker Training Program. This will fund efforts to support full or part-time employment for unemployed or underemployed works. So if you think that you can put people to work who are currently unemployed or underemployed, money might be made available for expanding job access there. And then the New York State Energy Research Development Authority, NYSERDA, will focus on building operations and maintenance programs. And the last one, the Workforce Solutions. This one's really exciting because it's very flexible. We really want this to be a creative process as you're thinking through solutions to some of our biggest workforce development needs, whether they be in Cayuga County, the region, or the state. This will provide you access to funding for any type of creative solution. So, addressing a long-term industry need, improving regional talent pipelines, enhancing flexibility and adaptability of the local workforce entities, and expanding apprenticeships. So, some people, I've had a bunch of people come up to me and say, well, will this be eligible? Would this be eligible? And what I say is apply. Because one, it's a new program. We're still kind of figuring out what's going to be best from our end. But I say to people all the time, if you don't apply, the answer is always going to be no. So if you think you've got a really good solution and you can articulate why that solution is going to be successful, why it's needed in Cayuga County or for your business, put in an application. Because I think that from what I've seen throughout all the applications that I've done is even if your project doesn't get funding, it forces you to start thinking about things in a different way, and perhaps there are funding sources available elsewhere that we can get you to fall into. Or perhaps it'll connect you with some of my colleagues here who perhaps have funding available in a different way, or perhaps have a training available that you didn't think about before. So I would recommend that everybody who has an idea apply. I'm happy to talk to you afterwards. I'll be here. I've got business cards. And you can call my office anytime. We'd be happy to talk about it further. Some examples of some potential projects are workforce development and innovation in college and university settings. So ensuring that we're putting people on a track to fill some specific skill sets once they graduate. You might have a job. We're highly encouraging people to coordinate with some of the local colleges, universities, or community colleges to say, hey, I'm going to have a need of a high number of employees in this specific skill set. How do we create a program to ensure that they're getting the training now so that when they graduate, they can fill that role immediately? Opportunities for populations which traditionally face barriers to career advancement, including women and young workers. Childcare, a huge issue right now. Perhaps you think that it'll be beneficial for your company to open up a childcare center. There might be money available to help you do that so that you can put more women back into the workforce who traditionally had to stay at home because, yes, they got the job, but, I can't afford daycare because it's too expensive. Perhaps there's a way that you as an employer could offer that on site. Projects addressing worker dislocation due to a foreign competition. Deployment and operation of programs that award recognized credentials to program graduates, example, apprenticeships and certifications, and then curriculum development for career or job-specific purposes.